Hello everyone, and welcome to lesson 4.1, which is on solving one-step equations. These equations are being solved with addition and subtraction only. So, before we get into the actual process of solving one-step equations, we need to understand the concept of opposites. Opposites, especially opposite operations, are operations that quote-unquote undo each other. So, in a problem, if we see one operation, to get rid of the number behind that operation or the number that's doing that operation, then all we have to do is use the opposite. So for example, if you look at our three things that are listed here, if we see addition, to get rid of the addition, we're going to do subtraction. If we see multiplication, to get rid of multiplication, we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to do division. Later on, you'll learn about squaring numbers, and to undo a square, we do its opposite, which is called square rooting. But for now, we're just going to stick with that first line. If we see addition, we do the opposite and we subtract. If we see subtraction, we're going to do the opposite and we're going to add. And that's basically about as far as it goes. Now, with that being said, we have a couple different ways that we can solve the problem here. Whenever we solve the problem, the first step is just take whatever the problem gives you. Don't freak out based on how a problem looks. Just read the problem, maybe even reread the problem, and then take whatever it gives you. If you see addition, then you know you have to do the opposite operation. If you see subtraction, cool, you know you have to do the opposite operation. Then comes step 2. We're going to do that opposite operation on both sides. And when you hear that term, on both sides, we mean specifically on both sides of the equal sign. So if I subtract 4 sides from the left, I have to subtract 4 sides from the right. And what that does, that just ensures that whatever we're doing to both sides of the equation equally, and we're keeping everything nice and balanced. So, let's take a look at how to solve these problems. In our examples here, we have 4. Our first example is x plus 7 equals 14. So I'll look at that problem. I know I got my variables, I got a lot of stuff going on, but my eyes need to be drawn right here to that plus sign. That plus sign is going to tell me what the problem is telling me to do. It's telling me plus we're adding, and we're adding 7. So to solve this, all I'm going to do is do the opposite of that, which is going to be minus 7. I'm going to minus 7 from the left-hand side. I'm going to subtract 7 from the right-hand side. And then I solve. 7 minus 7 cancels out, which is the exact purpose of how we solve these problems. That leaves me with x on the left-hand side. And then 14 minus 7 is 7. So that leaves me with a final answer of x is equal to 7. And that's basically all we have to do. They can dress problems up. You could see that in textbooks and worksheets or tests or quizzes. They can dress problems up and make them try to look more complicated, but really and truly, this is all there is, right? So let's look at number 2. This is a perfect example of trying to make a problem look more complicated than what it is. We have m minus negative 4 equals 25. Well, our eyes should first be drawn to that parenthesis and the fact we have 2 negatives. We know that 2 negatives make a positive, so I can rewrite this problem as m plus 4 equals 25. Now I take a look at that. I see that I'm adding 4, so all I'm going to do is the opposite operation here. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. 4 minus 4 cancels out, leaving me with m on the left-hand side. 25 minus 4 is equal to 21. So my final answer is M equals 21. On to problem number 3. I have x minus 10 equals negative 7. A lot of people might look at this and think that this problem is crazy different because of the negative 7. Absolutely not. Don't worry about it. Right? Again, we're taking whatever the problem gives me. I see that I have x minus 10. Right? I'll highlight that. Right? We got minus 10. So all we have to do is come in and do the opposite. So we're going to add 10 to both sides. Plus 10 and plus 10. We know minus 10 and plus 10 cancel out, leaving me with x on the left-hand side. And then negative 7 plus 10 is equal to 3. So my final answer there is x is equal to 3. Moving on to the last side, or the last example. In this one, everything's flipped backwards than how we've usually seen it in the first 3 examples. That's okay. It doesn't matter. What we want to look at is on this right side, and notice that we have y plus 2, right? Our thing that we need to kind of focus in on here is the 2 and what's in front of it, right? There's no negative sign. Right? A lot of times people don't know what to do here. They're unsure about what they should do. Take a look at what kind of 2 do I have. That's a positive 2. How do we get rid of that? We get rid of that by doing the opposite. So we're going to subtract 2 from the right-hand side. We're going to subtract 2 from the left-hand side. 2 minus 2 cancels out. 17 minus 2 is 15. And that leaves me with 15 is equal to y. And by getting through that, you're able to solve one-step equations by either adding or subtracting. Hopefully this has been helpful, but if you run into a problem that you're unsure about, feel free to ask me questions, and as always, reach out to me and let me know.